Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to a new episode of the Looks Like On podcast. This time we got Coach Bodhi calling from San Diego. Yeah, I met him in a Facebook group that was called FTP, and it was about monetizing coaching. One of my goals on this podcast is to interview as many coaches as possible to hear as many of their stories as possible. So here we go. Let's go meet Bodhi. This is really awesome. Dude, wait, where did we meet again?
Um, I'm honestly not sure. Did we meet in San Diego or just through social media?
I think just through Facebook. I think it was like,
Yeah.
wasn't there some like free online course about like coaching or monetizing coaching or something like that?
Was it Aaron Dowdy full-time purpose
FTP, right?
or
Is that FTP?
yeah, FTP
I think.
Business Accelerator?
Yeah. That's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You're the second person I've interviewed from that program.
Sweet, man. Yeah, I'm just stoked. I appreciate you having me on, and yeah, stoked to be a part of what you're doing.
Sure, man. Where are you
Share
right now?
my perspectives.
Where are you walking right now?
I am walking to, I think I'm just gonna go over to this little park
And also,
that
where
should
like where
be.
are you? Are you in the US?
Oh, I'm in San Diego, California,
Oh, nice.
North
Oh,
County, Encinitas.
I have a friend over there in San Diego. If she hears the shout out to Sabrina. That's awesome.
Oh, sweet. Sabrina, what's her last name?
That's a good question because she just got married, so it must be something else now. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I think probably a different Sabrina
Yeah, probably.
than the one I'm thinking of.
Is she Filipino?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's somebody else then. Okay,
Yeah.
sweet. Okay, so I have some questions for you here. Like, I wanted to ask you, like, yeah, how did you become interested in being a coach?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Um, I would say for me, the journey really started when I was 15 years old. I was like 14 or 15. And I remember specifically my aunt showed me the movie The Secret.
Oh,
And that kind of yeah. So, lucky for me, I had sort of like a spiritual uh sort of like hippie aunt, and she was
hmm,
really into like doing crystal grids and all kinds of, you know,
cool.
spiritual stuff like that. And then she showed me the movie The Secret, and that was the first time I had the inclination that, like maybe life isn't just happening to me. Maybe I actually have some sort of influence in what happens in my reality. You know,
Hmm.
like perhaps it's not just, oh, I get thrown into this situation as a human being and whatever happens just kind of happens, like, oh, it's up to the gods or whatever. It's just
Hmm.
random. Maybe that's not the full story. Maybe how I'm thinking and acting and behaving on a daily basis is, at least to some degree, determining the nature and the quality of my experience. And that kind of like, it's sort of like it was a crack in my ego, and it
Mm.
created like an opening. And then I started going deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, and it was like Pandora's box, and I couldn't go back. And then I think at a certain point, when I had gone really, really deep down the rabbit hole in my early 20s, I was like, I'd really like to share what I've learned with other people and see if I can help other people and support them on their journey towards enlightenment or healing, or
Mm.
however you want to phrase it. Maybe I could assist others on their journey. And it really started like that. And it just started me just helping people for free, really just
Hmm.
seeing like who needed support. And I had a video series called Bodhi Speaks, and people would submit questions and I would just channel the answer to their questions. And that was really like the beginning of my whole coaching and consulting.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really the beginning of my whole coaching and consulting career. So
That's amazing.
yeah, it's hard to find a very quiet place in this town. But
That's okay. So like what kind of clients do you attract now? Like what like I guess like your style must attract some specific type of people.
yeah, what clients do I attract? It's really varied. It's really like all across the board. I mean, I've definitely noticed a lot of like older women. Like
Mm,
you go for surprise on that one, but yeah, a lot of kind of like women in their 40s or 50s that's the main audience I've attracted. But I've done dating coaching. I've done,
mm,
I've coached 45-year-old women, and I've coached like 18-year-old dudes or like 25-year-old dudes on dating.
mm.
So, it's been really varied all across the board, really.
Dude, how would you answer when somebody who's like not in the coaching world, they'll say like, how can you coach a 45-year-old woman? What are you gonna help her do?
Yeah, that's another great question. I kind of thought the same thing when I had these women reaching out to me. I'm like, what am I going to support her in? But with a client like that, which she really struggles with, is more like emotional stuff. And I mean, let's face it, the main thing that people struggle with and humans struggle with in general is relationships and like relationship issues and things that get triggered from their relationships, especially like intimate partnerships. That kind of brings up the most for us, the most unresolved childhood trauma and, like limiting beliefs and things. Yeah, for sure. Like everybody. So
Mm-hmm.
that is a big one all across the board. I think no matter who I've coached or consulted, and no matter what age or gender or anything, I have helped them with relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of become my predominant focus over time because I mean, first and foremost, it's just something I'm super passionate about, especially how to go out and meet people and
Mm,
make friends and like attract people, and the dynamics involved in that, how to be masterful socially and, making friends, getting dates, whatever it is, just how to be magnetic and how to be attractive and interesting and charismatic and all of that. I'm super
mm,
interested in that. But also I'm also interested in the depths of relationship. Like, how do you really open up to somebody and go really deep and be vulnerable? And how do you hold space for people emotionally and help people to process through maybe things that they're going through? And how do you hold space for yourself so that you can process through different emotional triggers? Like, everything from just the surface, like first meeting someone and
mm.
creating a spark, creating a chemistry, whether that's, a potential business partner or friend or a potential mate, a romantic partner, whatever it is. How do you create that intrigue and that interest? And then how do you continue building that relationship and go deeper and create something that's sustainable? So I'm really interested in the whole dynamic of human relationships.
Nice. So, do you also help people like make friends, or is it only like romantic relationships?
Oh, definitely friendships too. Everything. I mean, the bottom line is pretty much, all romantic relationships begin as some sort of friendship or at least a tentative friendship,
True.
right? There has to be some sort of interest beyond just like, I want to bang you,
Mm,
in order for that. And that's fine too if that's what somebody's into, whatever. I've certainly helped guys figure that out. But yeah, it really cultivating friendships, there's really like the same principles all throughout. It's just in a friendship, like two dudes becoming friends, you're just removing that sexual component. So
true.
that's just an element and that's a skill that is removed from that dynamic.
Mm,
And that's something that you throw in with the woman, but a lot of the same principles are still there.
true. That is true. That's awesome. Oh yeah, so like I'm a brand new coach. I still haven't had my first paying client yet because I just started. What advice would you have, yeah, for yourself when you were on the way to getting your first coaching client?
For sure. I mean, the number one thing is just forget completely about selling and focus on what does this person need and how can I support them in that?
Hmm.
So what is this individual really looking for? What problem are they really struggling with? What is their major pain in life? And how can I help them to resolve that? Or even can I? Is that something that I have the capacity to serve in, or do I need to maybe look at a different potential client, like a different niche or a different sort of client avatar, like figuring out, okay, where is my area of expertise? Where's my unique gift? Because I believe we all have unique gifts that we were bestowed with by our creator.
Mm,
Each and every one of us has a unique gift, or really a whole set of gifts, and a unique way in which we can serve our fellow humans and the world at large. And so it's really a twofold process, figuring out what are your unique gifts and who can you serve with those gifts to alleviate their suffering and to help them in their life, and something that they're willing to pay a good amount of money for.
true. That's great advice. I had another question right now. All right. Did you ever find that your niche changed as your journey went along, or was it one thing from the beginning?
Oh, definitely changed. Yeah. So like I was saying, like in the beginning, I was mainly coaching like middle-aged women. And those were the people who were mostly engaging with my content. And I didn't know that much about coaching, but I just did it very low ticket, like a few $100s. And it was essentially like an emotional counseling uh,
Mm,
coaching offer. So I was helping them to process their emotions, deal with traumas, that sort of thing. And then as I progressed, I got more into the men's dating. And the dating stuff is something I've been into since I was like 15 years old. I started researching online. Oh, how do I talk to girls? How do I attract women? Because that was a huge pain point for me in high school. I was terrible with women. I couldn't even like talk to them. I could
mm,
hardly speak a sentence to a woman. It was like a huge pain point for me.
mm.
So I started just studying that obsessively, and then I started going out and meeting women and doing that sort of thing.
Cool. I guess like on that journey, you really like what increased your feeling of your self-worth.
Yeah, hold on one second. There's some
Oh
people
shit.
freaking out over here. It's like, dude, it's like so hard to find somewhere chill to go. It's
That's funny.
crazy. But let's see. Let me see. Yeah, I'll just walk over. This should be fine. But yeah, what was the question again?
Hold on, I'm trying to remember. Also
Yeah, no worries.
we can edit anything out too like, later on, so
Yeah, no, totally.
no
I
pressure.
think I find people really enjoy the authentic, the
Yeah,
real stuff. You know,
yeah, that's true.
it's kind of more interesting a lot of the time for people.
We're
You
talking
know,
about like niche, then your niche, it evolved into dating. Was it after that?
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So it evolved into dating. So it went from kind of
Ah,
coaching women with like emotional support, processing and healing traumas and that sort of thing, into men's dating coaching, just teaching guys like, okay, how do I go and just meet and attract women
mm,
with ease? And then that evolved into more like um mostly like men's lifestyle stuff.
mm,
But I put a huge like my brand's called Peak Experience Lifestyle. So I put a huge emphasis on how to create a lifestyle that leads to a profound natural high. So when most
cool.
people think of getting high, they think of using substances, smoking something, drinking something, um, ingesting something, whatever it is.
Yeah,
People think of getting high, you need to take a substance. But what I show people is you don't need anything at all except for your body and your mind and just the focus of your awareness. And you can experience an unbelievably profound natural high that oftentimes is even more powerful than you can get from a substance. And the best part is there's no downside. There's no come down. There's no hangover.
That's
So
awesome.
that's an integral part of the lifestyle coaching. I show people how to create a well-rounded, holistic lifestyle that leads to this sort of all-abiding natural high for at
Hmm.
least most of your waking life. You just feel like you're just pulsating with this sort of like blissful, euphoric feeling. At least it's there in the background, right? Because you've cultivated all these different areas of your lifestyle.
Mm. So now that makes sense how you got into like, do you do no fap coaching or is it like you have a mastermind or something?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook group. I have quite a few Facebook groups actually, but one of them is it's called the Fapstronaut Collective.
Mm.
Uh, and yeah, I started that one because the fapping was something that I struggled with a lot, and I know a lot of other men struggled with.
Hmm.
And I thought it would be cool to create a no fap group it's basically like framed out towards the goal. Like the goal is to become a fapstronaut. A fapstronaut is a guy who has made it 90 days or more with no porn and no masturbation, basically.
Mm.
So yeah, basically, framed it with the goal in mind, and I created that group, and that's been cool. It hasn't been like a major focus of mine, but that's definitely been. It's part of the lifestyle coaching for sure. Like
Hmm. It
anybody
makes
in my
sense.
group has to be on the nofap for sure. That's a huge component of it. Or at the very least, got to ditch the porn. The porn is horrible, toxic, terrible for your brain, dopamine system, like, and it's just low vibe. It's low vibration in general, and just yeah, the whole industry is very toxic. And I could go deep into
Mm.
that, but yeah, the main point is just like get off the porn, and if you need a relief occasionally, that's not that big of a deal. Just don't use the porn.
Mm. True, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
And it does count as like something to consume, right? Almost like something to feel some kind of high.
Oh, for sure, dude. Like I think they've done studies of people's brain response when watching porn, and it's similar to that of using drugs and like hard drugs like cocaine. Like you
Yeah.
get a similar dopamine rush and dopamine hit to the brain. So it is certainly a drug. A drug is not just necessarily something you eat. It could be any sort of like external stimulus, right?
Hmm.
Anything that you're taking in can be considered a drug, right? So yeah, I would
True.
definitely consider that
Uh,
to be like a drug.
oh yeah, one more thing about that same topic. What do you think about the label no fap? Because like when I hear it, it kind of sounds like when somebody says like don't think of a pink elephant. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I personally like NoFap. I think because it's not like no jacking off, like no
Yeah.
tugging no tugging the nugget or some shit.
Yeah.
Like no spanking the chicken. It's like no fap. It's kind of like its own thing.
True.
Like it's its own slogan. So
Mm.
it's like people might be like no fap. Like what is that? And then it kind of sparks their interest and they look into it and then they're like, oh cool.
True,
Like
right?
no porn, no masturbation. So I guess I like the slogan, but I'm not too particular about it. I think
Ah,
you could just as well call it like abstinence
yeah,
or
right.
uh
I mean,
yeah,
I guess
whatever you want to call it.
like no fap is fun to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's fun. It's I like Fapstronaut. I think it's funny.
Yeah, that's
It's kind
cool.
of it's a cool saying. I'm into it. I'm into the whole like no fat movement and stuff
Cool,
and
cool.
the rhetoric behind it. Yeah.
Nice. Yo, so along your journey, have you had any mentors or has it been like just straight intuition?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, I've had mentors for sure. Most of them like mainly virtual mentors. I've had a few in-person mentors, but mainly virtual. A huge mentor of mine for like the social and dating stuff was this guy. His name's Owen Cook. He was part of a company called Real Social Dynamics several years ago. He since has shifted into more like general self help and personal development, but that was a whole company based around, how to effectively attract women, but attract women just being your authentic self. And I think that was
Mm-hmm.
a big selling point of it. Because
Nice.
before that, it was all about like canned routines and pickup lines. Oh,
Uh-huh.
like I have this whole list of different canned routines and stories that I'm going to go and tell. And I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
do magic tricks and all these different whatever. Like, and mystery was a big guy behind that, and those things can work. He was
Mm-hmm.
the OG of pickup, which is awesome, and I think that's a great way to kind of get your foot in the door. But ultimately, you hit a wall with that, and it comes down to how do you unlock your authentic self-expression and
Mm-hmm.
discover who you truly are and shine that like a beacon into the world, and then the right people will be magnetized to it, like moths to a flame. The right people who you actually vibe with are drawn to you, drawn to
Right.
that honest signal, so to speak.
Dude, that reminds me, I recently received some coaching where my coach had me visualize I think myself in the future. And then I would go meet him and talk to him and then at the end of the meditation she asked me like, so what did he tell you? And then I really felt like he told me like if you're authentic, you're kind of like a lighthouse and you're attracting, I guess, like the people
Mm.
that vibe with you.
Oh, 1,000,000%, dude, 1,000,000%. But I think a lot of people don't even know who their authentic self is because it's buried under so many layers of conditioning. Like we've been conditioned since
Mm.
literally since the moment we were conceived. Like even in the womb, we take on traits of our mom, and then when we come out, like our parents, and then teachers, and all the people in our environment, and
Hmm.
everything just conditions us to you know uh to basically create this persona that is not necessarily authentic to our true core self. So it takes time to really dig through the layers of conditioning and to figure out like who we really are, what we really vibe with, um, and just what is just authentic to our own true self. And that's I think it's a journey that's unique for everybody,
Hmm.
but I think there's certain methods or strategies that are useful across the board for everyone.
Nice. Do you prefer to use like powerful questions with your clients?
um I haven't really taken that approach, no.
Mm.
um I think there's definitely, if I'm leading them through a process, like whether it could be like an inner child healing process, a trauma healing process, there's definitely questions involved.
Mm.
And I'm a big fan of this process called The Work by Byron Katie.
Ah, okay.
It's a great process. She has a great book called Loving What Is. And basically you question your thoughts and beliefs. So
Nice.
there's a series of 4 questions. Is this true? Can I absolutely know that this is true? How do I react when I think this thought? And who would I be without this thought? And I think that's so powerful to question your limiting thoughts and beliefs with
Nice.
those 4 questions. I'm a huge fan of that. And that's something I use with people I work with for sure.
Cool. Nice. It's like the 4 questions put together become so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. On their own, they're still powerful. But when you combine them all, like it's just like it'll just
Yeah.
shatter your belief system and your whole thought structure if
Yeah.
you use it regularly. Like it's profound the effect that it can have for sure.
Just random question that came up right now. When was the first time you felt like I don't know, like your paradigm just shifted? Was that after watching The Secret?
Yeah, I would say that was really the beginning, but that was like a lighter.
Ah,
Yeah, that was kind of just like it was like the spark that
yeah.
kick-started it, and then it started kind of like it kindled it, and then it built and built and built, and then I remember it really exploded when I read the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle,
Oh,
and
that's a
that was
good
just like
book.
that shifted and changed my reality more than any single book that I've ever read in my entire life,
Dang.
like
Dude,
by
that
far.
book was lent to me by a Buddhist monk. I live here in Vietnam, and I asked the
Oh,
monk
that's cool.
one time what is Zen. So like he asked me to come to his pagoda and stuff. We just hung out and like played guitar and ate soup. I had soup. And at the end, he lets me borrow a bunch of books, and one of them was Power of Now.
That's awesome.
Didn't you feel that when you read even like chapter one of Power of Now, it made you think about something in your past? Was like, damn, I did hear my mind say negative things before.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That I remember reading that beginning part. I was just like, what the fuck? Like
Yeah.
I was just so it was like simultaneously confused and like liberated when I like had the realization like if if I'm my thoughts, then who's listening to them? It's like, wait,
Mm-mm.
who's listening to this thought? And then it was just like, what the and it was like and then I was just like super present to the moment. I'm like, oh my God, like I'd been missing this my entire life. Like I had like the most obvious thing, but the most subtle. And it's like I had just overlooked it my whole life. Like
Mm.
I am this ever present awareness, this witness of my experience. And it was just like, what the? And it
Right.
was just a period of just like really intense Satori experience, like an enlightenment experience of just like
Nice.
super intense presence. And that was profound. But you know, there's a great book called After the Enlightenment, The Laundry, I believe is the name of it.
Mm.
And it's all about how like oftentimes after these profound enlightenment experiences, there's like a dark night of the soul. So oftentimes when you have a super intense, profound enlightenment, then you just have a brutal dark night. Like it can be brutally challenging right after. And that actually
Mm.
happened to me. Like I actually went into like a dark night of the soul. Like I think what happened was it really sort of opened a window to my subconscious or my unconscious mind. Like it opened a window into my shadow. And
Yeah.
then the next few years was really a deep dive into that shadow and releasing and processing. So
Mm.
yeah, that
Same
was
for me.
very, very real. Yeah.
That can be challenging. But we're
Oh,
doing a
for
good
sure.
job though. But we're
Yeah.
doing a good job.
Yeah. You know, it's a lifelong process. That's the thing. I think it's important not to be too hard on yourself. Like a lot
Yeah.
of times we can be like, why am I not more healed or further ahead? Like, dude, even the most enlightened being, like, still goes through the vicissitudes of the human experience. Like, you
Yeah.
like if you're still a human, you're in the experience of contrast. Like, you know, that's how we grow and evolve. Is through these highs and lows, ups and downs. There's the dark and light, good and bad, all that. You know,
Yeah. Right.
love and fear, and we're continuously navigating that, and that's how we grow and expand and evolve. And the whole point of being here is for your soul to grow and to learn. And the biggest lesson is learn how to let go of fear and move more into love and move into a
Mm.
state of unconditional love. And I think um, unconditional love and presence is synonymous with enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more we can move into that state, the more we attain that state of enlightenment.
Yo, I was thinking about this recently. Like, what if after like our physical death, you can choose to be reborn, or you can choose to just go back to source, whatever that is. Like, what would you choose?
Man, that's a tough question. Like, if I was reborn, could I be reborn as like any being, anything? Like, would it have to be a
Dang.
human being?
I think we can't choose. I'm just guessing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we have help with the show. I think we have guides, and we all kind of discuss it, friends, and you know, soul
Mm.
family and guides, and we all kind of deliberate. And I think once you reach a certain point, then incarnating physically no longer leads to your evolution, and then you become like a spirit guide of some sort, or you
Mm.
just take on a different role in the higher realms. Basically, I think that's how it works. I mean, based on what I've studied of
Oh, really? Cool.
near death experiences and between life experiences like hypnosis, that's yeah, that's what I've seen, and it makes sense to me for sure.
Mm. Yeah, what just comes to mind now is like my dad he'll still mention like he believes he can pray to our relatives who have passed away. And then I wonder, like, are they actually still there as individual souls somewhere, or have they gone back to source? Like, I don't know, I just think about that sometimes.
Yeah, well, that I think that's the confusing thing is like our true self and true nature is so much more expansive than we can possibly fathom. And the
Mm.
ultimate truth is that we are all the one original source. We are
Hmm.
all like, even while we are just like a tiny fraction of that, you could say, like a little stream that comes off of this like infinite ocean. We're just this little branch off that tree. We are
Mm.
still that tree or that ocean.
Right.
We are still simultaneously God, you could say, or that
Right.
that source and origin. So
Mm.
as tiny we can whittle down our perspective into this human experience, we can also, boom, open up our perspective into the vastness of being one with the perspective of the creator or God. And so when you understand that, then you understand that a loved one, in those higher realms, they can be like multiple places at one time. They can take on any form. It's like because ultimately they are the source or the creator,
True.
cloaked in this form, or cloaked in this disguise of your relative or whoever it is, right? So of
Mm.
course God, the source creator, can do whatever it wants infinitely. All like there's no limitation on it. So we
Right.
think in terms of human limitations, like, oh, is that the soul of my aunt? But
Mm.
it doesn't work like that. There's no limitation, no time, no separation. Like, yeah, it's far beyond our human understanding. But this whole game of separation, it's useful in terms of evolution and expansion. It allows your soul to evolve and expand by something that's infinite and unlimited. Having the experience of limitation, it learns about its own true nature. It learns about itself through that experience.
True.
Like you can't really understand heaven if you don't experience hell, right? How could you
Mm.
even know you're in heaven if you're just there eternally and you never leave?
True.
So there has to be that contrast and polarity in order to have any understanding and in order to have appreciation for anything too.
Hmm. Oh, you mentioned some coaches earlier, like Mystery. I'm guessing you also know Julian. Is it Julian Blanc? Julian Blanc.
Yeah, yeah.
He
Big,
shifted,
yeah,
right?
big fan of
Like
Julian
he
Blanc.
used to
Yeah.
be like a pickup coach, and he shifted into like a different niche now.
Yeah, he coached with that guy, yeah, in Real Social Dynamics.
Oh.
Him and Owen Cook were they were both part of that company, and they were both coaches. He had a huge media scandal, which really caused him to have this enlightenment experience. Basically,
Mm.
it actually pushed him to the brink of suicide. But then he ended up letting go, and he had this profound enlightenment experience. And then after that, he started teaching other people about his experience and what had happened and helping to show other people how to let go and let go of trauma and limitation. So yeah, it's really cool to see his evolution and his journey and where that's led him. So
Yeah, it's really awesome. Because like I didn't know about him until after he had already like had his like enlightenment moments. Because everything he was saying like matched every other spiritual book I was reading. So I was like, wait, who is this guy? How is everything he's
yeah,
saying is matching?
yeah, I know that David Hawkins is a huge influence on
Dude,
him. And I'm a huge fan of David Hawkins.
me too.
Yeah,
I,
love David Hawkins.
I keep his scale in mind often. Because like I think in the past I didn't know the difference between guilt and shame. And I didn't really know how like low of a vibration it was until David Hawkins showed that, like his
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah, no, I know. It is kind of surprising. Like I I wouldn't expect reason to be so high on the scale. I think reason, like logic, like analyzing, and I would think like, like in the mind and analysis would be like kind of lower on the scale, but yeah, I guess according to his, measurement, it's actually pretty high on the scales.
Cool. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I thought, yeah, it was
What's
kind of
surprising
surprising.
about like for me, like about like the shame part is like shame is the lowest vibration, but I feel like it's something that people try to trigger in each other pretty often.
Yeah. Oh, shame, you're saying?
Yeah.
For sure. Well, because if you think of shame, it's like the complete opposite of liberated, authentic self-expression. Shame is like it's this force that's collapsing inwards, and it's like you're being like crushed under this weight of inhibition and intent, like of unworthiness, and like there's something wrong with me, I'm not good enough, disempowerment, and you just totally shut down. So yeah,
Mm.
it's a direct antithesis to your true nature, which is this ever expanding joy, essentially.
Hmm.
It's at least part of your true nature. So yeah, shame is like the opposite of that.
Hmm. I wonder if some of these things helped humans to survive in the past, like because I guess like in the past humans needed to live in tribes or whatever, right? And then if you weren't accepted by your tribe, they would cast you out and you could die.
Totally.
And we still have the same hardware, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I believe every single emotion has utility. It's only the mind that judges any emotion as bad or wrong or negative. There's no such thing as an inherently negative emotion. It
Hmm.
has its utility. It's just when we get stuck in certain emotions and we become attached to or identified with certain emotions, then it becomes a truly negative, almost like parasitic force in our life that's just like sucking our life force energy and vitality.
Mm.
um and yeah, it's all a part of the ego construct, essentially. But yeah, every emotion has utility for sure. Like shame, for instance, if you do something that the social group deems as bad or wrong or not okay, then you get shamed for it.
Mm.
And a lot of noise, yeah. But yeah, so you get shamed for it, and then as a result, you feel a sense of shame, and so that teaches you, okay, don't do that thing anymore. Now this becomes terrible when it's like everything you do you get shamed for, right? And you
Mm.
feel like this sort of constant burden of shame, which a lot of people, I think, in our modern day society feel, at least to some degree, almost like a perpetual shame, like
Mm.
feeling unworthy or not good enough, or like I can't fully express myself, or for I'm not okay for some reason. And yeah, I think that's a huge epidemic in society.
You know what happened to me recently? Like, I realized I had been seeking validation. Um, but I didn't know like it was happening like under my awareness. Like I had no idea for so long.
Oh yeah.
So just last month I intentionally said, okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop seeking it as best as I possibly can. And
Easier said than done.
yeah, easier said
That's
than
for
done
sure.
because after some time of intentionally not seeking, all of this stuff I had inside started to come out, like all of this subconscious shame I didn't even know I had, and like
Yeah.
subconscious regrets and stuff, they just started to come out, and I was like, what the fuck? I didn't even know I had that in there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing, is like awareness is really the thing that opens Pandora's box. And once you start becoming more aware, like, wow, I didn't even realize I was doing this thing, it just opens the doorway for all these other things in the unconscious to start coming up into your awareness. And then it's in the
Yeah.
light of awareness that you can transmute and you can let go and you can alchemize all these things.
Yeah, like looking back, it kind of felt like I had some like let's just say like programs running inside of me. I had no idea they were even there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the trippy thing, is like, the thing is, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
So it's
Yeah.
like there's certain things that right? Like the English language. There's certain things you don't know. Like I'm assuming you don't know Mandarin Chinese.
Not much,
But
no.
yeah, well, yeah, I'm impressed that you even know any of that school. But yeah, like there's things that and there's things that you don't know. But how can you know how much there is that you don't know. Like, you don't know that you don't know. Like, it's kind of a mind fuck to think about
Yeah,
that.
it is.
It's crazy. Yeah. Like, if you ever had the experience of like discovering an awesome song and you're like, man, how had this never come into my awareness before? It's like, how many things in existence